Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another Project Live podcast, uh, which you're all in. Happy to see any of you that want to join it. Please come and talk to me. We can have a little look at our current position at the club with like 7 games of the season left, starting on Saturday. On Friday at home to Blackburn Rovers. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully, you're going to come on and say hello. I'll have a little look around in a minute to see who's here. It's 31st of March today, so it's my son's birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Ben. Don't think you'll be watching, but in case you are. Um, and last day of March, April Fool Day tomorrow. Don't forget. Uh, it doesn't really something that happens in Spain, but obviously the British people do it. Spain have one. I can't remember what date it is. It's a similar sort of thing. It's 17 degrees here today, so it's nice and warm. It's extremely sunny, which is good. And I hope it's all right in the UK at the minute, and we get a bit of good weather for the football. Hopefully, let's have a little quick look and see if we've got anyone joining us at the moment. Well, no one yet. See where we're doing. Let's have a little look. Oh, I've only got one person on, but it always takes a few minutes to warm us up a little bit. So let's expand the comments. Okay, come and say hello to me then. Let's get this conversation underway. See how we go today. Um, it's been a lot of like you get a little bit fed up with the non-stop whinging. I mean, we don't. The thing like the Derby game has just been regurgitated so many times. They're just sick of hearing about it. It's a bit like, well, you know what I mean. It's just enough already. For God's sake, get over it. I know, we're all massively disappointed when Blues lose. Of course we are, but it's like I said to everyone last week that it's like, when did we ever become so entitled? I just don't believe it. Like, and a point I made on the Sunday show was that, and I'm not. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not defending anyone. I'm just looking at as a whole. The last 2 seasons have been really successful. We won League One with record points and everything that went with it. We lost 3 league games. Now I know people are going, well, like look at all the money that's. Well, you don't. Number one, you don't know how much money they spent, and number two, the spending isn't done. I'm going to say it again by Chris Davis. It's done by the board. So when I say the board, the club does the fetching and carrying for new purchases. It isn't done by Chris Davis. He doesn't sit there on his phone. It's not 50 years ago. Um, we know how they do it. Of course we do. Lee Harvey saying, "Hi Steve, we'll skip this as there's nothing really to talk about till after the Blackburn game. Get really good. Well, I mean, Gary Gardner doesn't do that on his own. So if you want Gary Gardner to go because of recruitment, then I think you've got to get rid of Mike Rigg. I mean, really, like the buck stops at Tom Wagner because he's the one that brought this recruitment style in. So really, you're talking about the whole of the the management and the back management of the club. Gary Gardner doesn't select the players, so really, you're going to get rid of one of the people that are involved in the actual process. I mean, it's all right saying don't use that software anymore or do it in a different way. That's fine, but getting rid of Gary Gardner doesn't stop exactly the same process happening again. Um, as I was saying, we signed a lot of new players last season, and of course we have this season. Um, I don't think that's particularly been good. Um, Sorry, yeah. I always say that, Scott. I always come out with Gary Gardner for some reason, Craig Gardner. Um, whatever you might think of the process of purchasing players over the last 2 seasons, when it was happening, I was quite all right with it, and this season I've been quite all right with it really. But then when you look at it now, looking back on it, I think we signed too many foreign players. We didn't sign anyone with any championship experience. But this is you got to lay this at the feet of the club, not Gary Gardner. It isn't Gary Gardner. So Gary Gardner. It's not Craig Gardner. You got to lay it at the feet of the club. So we heard in the very first open house Tom Wagner explain how we're going to buy players, and everyone was well up for it. And then again, I think in the last open house, he actually went through the process of it. So if you've seen it, or if you haven't seen it, go and watch it and listen to what the process is. It isn't Craig Gardner making decisions. It's it's a select, it's software pulling out things that we were looking for, and then it's whittled down. I think the club probably went with what they thought was a good idea in terms of trying to get some bargains from abroad, and we have got some really good players out of some of these foreign signings. I think one thing in the very first window this season, I think we did lack. It's evident now, isn't it, that we lacked championship experience, but I think we also lacked height as well. That was something that was sorely missing from our squad, and it really, I mean, it isn't so much now, but it is still a bit. So we'll have to see how we recruit this summer and see what happens. I don't know. We, for me, looking forward, we try and get what we can out of the rest of the season, of course, and it's important that we win games. I mean, as I was just saying, if you look back at the two seasons, last season it speaks for itself. We did everything we wanted to do. This season, we've had. This season, we're probably going to have our best finish for 15 years. So, if that's failure, then fair enough. Lee Harvey's saying, who gives a shit? You know who I was on about. Well, I don't think you said it actually, Lee. I think it was me that said Gary Gardner. You just said Gardner. It was me that said Gary, and the person did know who I was talking about, of course. So there's a lot of stuff to look at there, and then I'm sure this is what the club are going to be doing. They're going to look at the two seasons, how we've done financially. I think we've done really, really well. The club earns an awful lot of money from a lot of different things, and the commercial side of the club is really, really good. I've seen mad figures bandied about in terms of what we spent and what we won. No one knows. No one knows. And if anyone can come on here and show me any source that will tell you, number one, what Blues paid for a player, and number two, what his earnings are, show it me. And it doesn't mean like Birmingham Live or something, Lee saying, lose Friday, the shit will hit the fan. Well, lose every week and everyone cries, we shouldn't be losing at home to Blackburn, of course we shouldn't. They're in the bottom 4 or 5 of the table, of course we shouldn't be losing at home to them. But, I have to say, low volume, Lee, okay. I'll just talk a bit louder, I'm sorry. I'll just reposition my mic a bit as well. I think we also got to say, that like Blackburn will be up for it because they want, they look for 3 points. They're desperate to stay up like we were 2 seasons ago. Stuart Blaney's saying he's done a job, kept us up. We have consolidated, not saying he's the man for next season, maybe someone with new ideas. Well, it's something that's pretty pointless talking about because the person that makes that decision is Tom Healy and Tom Wagner and Jeremy Dale. They'll all look at that. But I would personally think, and I'm not, this is what I think will happen. I think Chris Davis will be given another season by the club. And then probably, obviously, if the season's going absolutely tits up, then, they look at it again. 18 months for a manager isn't enough. It just isn't. Particularly one that's had such a good start. And then, it's that old saying, and it don't throw the baby away with the bathwater, because we haven't had a fantastic season. We haven't had a bad season, and I mean, Stuart's saying he's done a job, he's kept us up. He hasn't kept us up. I mean, it's not like we've been struggling in the bottom 5 or 6. I mean, we've been pushing towards the top 6, haven't we? It's only over the last like 6 weeks when we dropped points, and that we should probably have gained, that we haven't looked quite so, that we haven't got into the top 6. I mean, it is still possible, of course, but I don't think that's going to happen. Lee saying no, he hasn't done any job but sign players that can't do the job. For 1 Kyogo, for 2 Priska, 3 Vicente. They can't play championship football. Yeah, but that's not that isn't Craig Gardner, Lee. That Craig Gardner doesn't sit there and decide who we sign. Like I said, if you're not sure of what it is, have a look. Just go onto the Blues website and look at the last open house, and it's completely explained to you how he signs players. Angus is on. How you doing, Angus? It's nice to see you, mate. Hope you're okay. I don't know, what's the weather like over there? Is it all right? I guess you're at work, Angus. It's Easter, of course, this week, so I'm pretty sure everyone's going to have some time off. I'm working Friday and Monday, but I've got a friend coming over on Friday, Billy, he's actually one of our moderators as well, but he's an old mate of mine. Billy's coming over from Dublin to spend a few days with me, so that'll be quite nice. 2 games, Friday and Monday, and the Monday one, of course, Ipswich away from home is going to be a bit of a challenge, isn't it? I think that's going to be a hard game for us, but I'm looking forward to it. The other thing to mention, of course, is the ladies' victory on Sunday against Bristol City, which puts us in, well, it looks to me like we are going up, into the WSL. And this will see the club put their hands in the pocket to get the ladies stabilised in that top division of women's football, and I think that's going to definitely going to be really, really good for the club. I felt sorry for Amy Merricks a little bit this season. She came in for some shit as well, but she's pulled it round, and everyone's doing really well. So I'm glad for Amy. I'm glad for the girls. They've had a great season. And the good thing about us as well is the massive goal difference that we have. Even if we end level on points in second, it looks like we'll go up anyway. But at the moment, we've got game in hand to Charlton, who we can overtake, and we play them in the last game of the season. And then we're like, I think we're 5 points ahead of, I think, without looking off the top of my head, ahead of Crystal Palace, I think it is. So we could be in the same position as we was in last season, except London Lionesses had to come to Blues and just get a point. We may have to go to Charlton and just get a point, So that's interesting. Stuart's come on and said fair play to the ladies. We also got mentioned poor Paul, who unfortunately should never happen. Went to a game and just never returned. Absolutely awful. A lot of people went to Derby to try and look for him. The football, the football family has all joined us in. I don't know, like that. Your hearts bleed, don't they? It's an 18-year-old lad, and it's just absolutely awful. Obviously, we don't know the the actual details of his death, but it's really, really sad, and I'd like to thank everyone that has made comments for Paul, contributed to all the various things that are going on for him in the project. Of course, we've been it's been a big thing in the project. It was from day one, and it's just really, really sad. We don't want those things happening in football. And when you look then at the result or what, it doesn't matter when you look at something as tragic as this. So you know, God bless your son. You know, keep right on. Forever young, really, isn't it? And it's just so sad. And you know, we lose a lot of people, don't we? You know when over the years, and you never ever want to lose a child in any way, but on a tragic sort of accident like that, you know, we hope that's what it was. Excuse me. Oh, yeah, just bad, just sad, 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 and there's the walk, of course, on um, Friday from Diggety's down to from St Anne's down to the ground. So if you can make it on that, then please come and join and join in and pay your respects along with many other supporters. Stuart's saying RIP Blues fans come together. Yeah, well, to be fair, it was fans from everywhere. You know, I mean, we've had Villa fans in it. Um, you know, we've had everyone joining us for that, and I think that's really good. Uh, so well done, everyone, really. Um, Also, anyone that's contributed in our uh, Easter egg um, collections for underprivileged children and other groups, and you know, us along with 8 other groups who represent all of the independent blues groups, we've done absolutely brilliant, and especially with us, you know, Emily has been absolutely fantastic. Emily like looks after all of our community stuff in terms of you know, like these sort of collections and that, and it's really fantastic job that she does, and we all take our hat off to her, and I'm sure, like, I know some of you have, like, I don't know, like, put loads of money into those little posts that we put out trying to sell 10 eggs and all this, raffle them and choose them. I don't know, like, Emily comes up with some great ideas. Sorry, Emma Palmer comes up with some great ideas, you know, and we have to be really thankful that we got her on board. She's a good girl. So in terms of this season, like I said, I think you know, we're gonna hopefully be able to relax a little bit now and play a little bit of football. Let's see what we're made of. Uh, I'd like to see a more stable side. Perhaps give the players now a little, you know, the players that we just bought, give them their head, give Priska some games because he's only young and he needs it. Get him playing with Stansfield probably, and then hopefully we can keep Ibrahim Osman for next season. He's looked really good. Played, you know, he was played out of position against Derby. He's not a wing back, and I don't know what on earth we were doing playing that particular setup with 5 at the back. I just don't know what happened there. That's something Chris Davis would have to address. I think he has. I think he was looking for a more solid defensive performance against Derby, and it's just not how we play. Keep right on. High all. I think if we suffer defeats this weekend, 2 defeats to Blackburn fight relegation, and Ipswich fighting for automatic price CD will go. Lee Carsley is touting himself as on his agents looking for a job. Well, if I don't know what you're saying as Lee Carsley is touting himself or his agent is looking for a job. Well, you know, there's lots of managers looking for a job. Um, there is one available at St Andrews at the moment, so you know, and I don't think you know, and what you're saying there is, you know, you think if we suffered 2 defeats, it purely is that, you know, it's pure speculation, and we have no idea what's going to happen. Ipswich away, I mean, it's going to be a very tough game for us. We expect to beat Blackburn, absolutely we do. Stuart Blaine is saying, have a mess about now, play some of these players that ain't had a shout. Yeah, you know, I'm sure all these things are going through his head at the moment. The other way of looking at it is probably if I was Chris Davis now, I think I'd be thinking about who I'm going to keep for next season, who I see as being, you know, an important member of the team next season, and I would be playing them. I'd be trying to forge some kind of relationships in terms of we haven't had, and it's a massive part of any team. We haven't had a steady centre back partnership all season. It's been mixed up the whole time. I think Chris, I think Chris Clara's had like seven or there's been 7 or 8 partnerships at centre half, and that doesn't bode well. Um, I've seen something. It makes me laugh actually. I've seen a few things yesterday that someone was saying, "Oh, you know, like what's happened when when Irin Cashin, you know, I mean, look at him, he's really, really good. You know, why was he shit for us? Because he had one game and everyone jumped on him like a ton of bricks. He's shit. Never ever should wear a shirt again. Blah blah blah. He did have a couple of poor games, you know, but that's what happens to players when you destroy the confidence. He's a really good player, Erin Cashin. I did feel sorry for him because you've seen him at the end. He played in the last 2 games, and he looked really good, didn't he? He looked solid when he played those last few games in January. Part of that little turnaround when we had an unbeaten run. Um, Also, people talking about Lee Harvey. Well, he was in the first couple of games. He didn't play well, Lee, but watch how he plays now. And then like Kyogo, a lot of people again calling for Kyogo. I reminded someone this morning that it's only a few months ago and everyone's saying he's absolutely shit. He's had his chances and that's it. And I did make the point, and I got nothing against Kyogo. I said a few weeks ago, you know, might be worth giving him a go. Well, you know, he's probably had 10 one-on-ones this season, 9 or 10, and he's missed them. Well, he scored one actually, didn't he, against Sheffield Wednesday, which probably cost us 10 points. So you know, people have to be, you've got to be fair with comments, and I think you have to be consistent with them as well. You know, don't say, oh, I mean, you know, he's had more than enough chances. I mean, he scored. He should have had a dozen goals by now. There's no doubt about that. And then he probably would have been playing more, you know. But you can't keep playing a player and saying when he scores, you know, you just can't do that. Going back to that Lee Carsley thing, I haven't seen his agent. I can't remember who Lee's agent is, but I, I I don't know. It would be a bit disrespectful if he was openly touting for a job of a manager that's already in place. I mean, I don't think that would be very good. But who knows? I mean, football changes, doesn't it? And I think a lot of people respect sort of gone out of football, hasn't it? You know, people don't give a shit about people anymore. There's a great post in. I put it in this morning. So it's a great post. It wasn't my post originally. I shared it from away days, and it was that photo of the van loaded up with supporters going on an away game, and it's something we used to do regularly. Uh, so you know, and it would be done probably Saturday morning. You wake up, phone your mate up. Do you want to go to you know, I don't know, you know, do you want to go to Manchester? Do you want to go see Blues at Man City? Yeah, yeah, go on, why not? Still hung over from the night before. All right, and hang on a minute, let's see who we can get then so and so. Yeah, so and so's going with, he's got his works fan. Fucking brilliant. Like, let's all compile in the back of the works fan. Absolutely the best days out. Then, of course, there was the coach travel ones that were good. The football special ones was something else. Lee Harvey saying Thomas Frank is a man for the job. We need a gaffer with plenty of experience and can get a team a tune out of the players. It wouldn't be. I mean, listen, we ain't gonna. We're not gonna discuss you know, people coming in to take the job of a manager that's already got. We're not looking for a manager at the moment. Stuart Blaney, I've heard fans knock Fujimoto because he ain't had a look in. If you're not going to play him, let him go. Well, let him. I don't understand what you're saying, Stuart. Let him go. What do you mean? He's someone. He's got a 3-year contract, so let him go. He can walk out of his contract any time he wants. So I don't really know what you mean. You'll have to explain that to me. People always say that, we need to let him go, or we need to get rid of him. To get rid of a player, you have to have someone that wants to buy him or wants to have him, or to let him go. Okay, well, Fujimoto, you can leave if you want. He's not going to go. He's sitting on a 3-year contract, and he hasn't. He has played and he hasn't looked good. And I'm pretty sure that we see them at weekends. We don't see them in training. You've got to say, like it doesn't not. Why would you think he wouldn't play a good player? If this lad was a really, really good, I just think he's not. He didn't do it. I think English football's too much for him, like it is for a lot of them. Kanya Fujimoto played in Portugal, and they don't play like 2 and 3 games a week, and it's a lot more physical in the UK in the Championship. It's not like it is in Portugal. And obviously I've taken a gamble on him. Stuart's saying what I'm saying is playing. Well, who are you going to drop to play Fujimoto? I don't know. It's like when people say that, we've got like, oh my God, like, we've got, I've seen the other day, we've got £100 million worth of players sitting on the bench. What? What they mean is we've got 5 or 6 players that can play in the first team sitting on the bench. Well, you can only play 11. You can't play 17 or 18, can you? So they can't all be in the team. It don't matter who it is. There's going to be 7 or 8 sitting on the bench. Keep right on. Who on earth gave him a 3-year contract? The bloody computer. 1 second. Well, I'll say I can't remember, to be honest. He won't have anything less than 2 years. So if he's got a 2-year contract, then he's got a year left, hasn't he? He's left a Portuguese Premier League, top division team, whatever they call it in Portugal. So the computer, I've got to say, I don't agree. I wouldn't want us to continue going down the line of using this software to select players. I do believe that it was probably Gary Cook that put that into the club to start with, and I think the club bought into it. Chris Davies doesn't know his best 8. Well, you can't have Lee. You can't have your best 11. What's your best 11, Lee? What team would you play in every game? You can't do that. That's the whole point of having a big squad. Is that you can play according to your opponents. And when you get 3 or 4 injuries, it's not. It isn't. And I didn't say anything about his best 8. He does know his best 11 because he picks 11 players every week. We've had a lot of injuries. We've had a lot of suspensions. And he does change the team more than probably I would like to see. But then again, like with the centre halves and that, it's hard because we've had a lot of issues with centre halves. The recruitment for the centre half was awful. We needed to get a left-sided centre half. We still haven't really got one now that I think we're going to be using next season. The midfield, we didn't have, we didn't have a strong man in the midfield, and we have now because we bought John Solis, but that defensive enforcer has been missing. We've had awful luck with full-backs, really bad luck particularly with left-backs. And of course, one of our best players, Ethan Laird, has been out for the majority of the season. So it's been like a whole mixture of things, really. But I agree with the thing about the computer. I think what we should do is just look around and go back a little bit to the way it used to be done, and look to see who's available and see who we want. bring them in if we can, and if we can, absolutely brilliant, you know, and if we can't, then keep looking, or use a mixture of the two, you know, bring in some of these youngsters that we think might be good for us in the long term, and then and then you know, take it from there. I think Lee's, so hence why the players are all over the shop. I presume you mean against Derby. I think against Derby, there's a lot of pressure to change the shape of the team, and I think Chris Davis probably buckled to the pressure a little bit. I wish he hadn't, personally, because playing a back five, playing with wing backs, with the players we have, is suicide, you know. And we're not used to playing that way anyway. We don't play defensively, and it just, well, listen, we all know what it looked like, don't we? We've done this to death. Um, it didn't look good. Uh, we don't play with wing backs. We haven't got any wing backs. We've got two wing backs. One of them was injured. You know, and by playing that five, then we couldn't play John Solis. It was just a poor selection, in my opinion, and not a good thing to change the system in that game. Um, uh, Leo, go and watch players play. Sod what computers say, so you can make decisions on the player better. That was one sign. Well, yeah, what I just said, really. You know, have a look at players, um, see who's available, decide what you're going to do. I think we got caught between two stools this season. Number one, the signings weren't big enough. We weren't a big enough team in terms of physically big enough. Um, and I think we didn't have enough players with championship experience. That was a big thing, I think, as the season went on, because when you've got, you know, listen, I watch Spanish football. You know, it's on TV all the time here, and we see, you know, local team here is Elche in the Spanish La Liga, and they don't play anything like the way we play. They're nowhere near as physical. They're not as fast. It's just a completely different game, and Spanish players are going to struggle to come straight in and play the way we play. I think it's the same with Germans as well. I've said it before. Is that, you know, German football is a bit pedestrian compared to ours. It's not as physical. They don't get, you know, they don't get beat up like our players. Some of our players do, centre forwards, centre halves, and I think. The other thing, of course, is that uh, they don't play the amount of football we play. When you get a few Spaniards coming in, and the first 10 days they play 3 games, they're absolutely blowing out their arses. You know, they're not used to that in Spain, particularly at the pace we play at. Um, Lee's saying you often see managers in different teams keeping an eye on. I don't know. You know, I really like that interested in players, in managers of other teams and what they do. I'm not. I think a lot of our clubs in in England, in the English football leagues, there's two things that we do. Number one, we probably don't look at English managers enough. Um, Always jump for a foreign manager, and you can see what's happened to the clubs that do that and that regularly do it. You know, look at Spurs, look at Notts Forest, you know, look at Wolves, um, look at Burnley, and all of those teams. Also, look at their league position and see what you think of that. Those, you know, teams that do that, generally speaking, you know, are not successful. You can see it in our division. Look at Watford. You know, Watford have an absolute mare. How many times they change the manager? Every 6 months. You know, look at the teams that are succeeding. You know, Coventry have stuck with Lampard for 3 seasons, I think. Middlesbrough all right, you know, the manager Rob Edwards walked away, but he was doing okay. Um, Ipswich, same manager that took them up and came down with them. You know, so there's a lot to be said for sticking. Um, we need a big signing with plenty of experience to get the lads in hand and them up and get them up. Well, uh, like I said a few times, I think if you watch the first open house again, what was conveyed to us all then was the fact that it was a 5-year plan to get the club into the Premier League, to coincide with the new ground and all that stuff, you know. The new ground, I think, is a little bit a distraction, you know. We don't have to be thinking too much about that. I think I do think that the club put Davies under a lot of pressure this season by intimating that, you know, they wanted to get into the playoffs this season. But of course they did, you know. I mean, you've got to be stupid if you think that we didn't want to go up if we could. Of course we did. Every team in the Championship wants to go up. You don't set out the season, you know, aiming not to go up. Lee's here saying, where's all this money gone we meant to have? You can't just spend money, Lee. You can't do that. It doesn't work like that. And you can only spend money twice a season. You can't just buy. You can't go out and buy players when there's no transfer window open. And the other thing is, you have to balance uh, income with whatever you spend. So our accounts are going to be out soon. You can all have a look at those, and we'll see what we've done, you know. And I'm hoping they're going to be pretty good compared to what they've been in the past. Something you might have noticed is that we do bring a lot of loans in, and that is for that reason, to spread the play, to spread the cost of players out. Like for instance with John Solis, we've got an agreement to sign him at the end of the season, so we didn't have to sign him in January. With Priska, I think he's on a 7-year contract or something, so 5-year contract. So he can that contract is amortised over those 5 years. It was the same with Stansfield. So the club's very clever and very, you know, they're very well switched on in terms of finance. They know what they're doing. They're not idiots. I don't know how people think, you know, about United. I think it summed it up when someone asked, you know, Tom Wagner's not well, so is anyone actually looking after United? I mean, you know, it's a multi-billion-dollar business. Do you seriously think one man runs that? You know, come on. You got to be a little bit sensible with it, and understand that they're very, very savvy. They know what they're doing. They understand business. They will want to go up as soon as they can. Of course they will, because you get 150 million pounds when you go up. And don't forget that United aren't doing this because they're from Small Heath. They're doing this for money, you know. So let's not kid ourselves. I'm not knocking them one little bit. The fact that they're doing it for money, if they take us on their shirt tails, then absolutely fantastic, you know, because we get the ride into Premier League. They make all the money, and then hopefully they hand us over to someone, because it's a hedge fund at the end of the day, and then they hand us over to someone that's going to look after us, you know. But all those things are in the future. We're talking now about a tiny little window of time that's happening right now. We're all passionate about our club. We all want them to do really well. We're all saying, as we need championship experience, did the club miss a trick not investing in more high upsides players, as Robinson was probably the best so far? I don't know if you mean Robinson or Roberts there, mate. Yeah, Robinson is a really good left-sided centre half. He really is. Got a lot of experience. You know, he's played in the Premier League. He's been promoted with Sheffield United. Paddy Roberts on the right side, as a right winger, is also really experienced. And those two players have been good signings, haven't cost us anything. And both of them, well, Roberts has, but it's only going to be like a nominal fee. But he's one, that definitely will come into next season with us. Um, the other thing that you have to understand, I think, is that the way we play, if Chris Davies was removed as the manager, we would still be playing that same system with a 4-2-3-1, or that very, very similar. So that possession game, because the whole club plays it, the under 8s, the under 12s, the under 18s, the under 21s, the boys, the girls, every single team through the club plays that possession game. Lee is saying in that case, by the time the new ground is built, we'll still be in this league. You have to spend big to get anywhere these days in football. Well, it isn't, is it? Because look at Coventry, for instance. Teams that get promoted don't always spend big. Look at Millwall. They can go up automatically. Ipswich have spent big. They spent the Premier League money, and we have spent money. But you can't spend money that you haven't got. It's as simple as that. You can't. We could spend whatever we want, and then you remember what happened to us a few seasons ago when we had a points deduction and we were on a transfer ban and all that stuff. Well, that's what happens. Look at Leicester City. Look at Sheffield Wednesday. The points deductions. That's because they didn't, stick by the rules that the financial rules are in place. What about Vicente needs playing? Well, Stuart, we've got 4 wide players, haven't we, that all could play in that team. Vicente and Roberts on the right, and Osman and Dimmy on the left. So, obviously, they're not all going to play, are they? So, last week when we played with that, when we played with a 5 at the back, to me, it was a bit of a silly thing to do because we've got 4 wingers, and none of those wingers are wing backs. But we were forced to play one, Ibrahim Osman, as a wing back. And then you had Dimmy having to play inside of like this midfield 4. It was just messy. But you can't, you can't play Vicente in every game. Of course you can't. He suits some games and probably not others. And the reason that we got those 4 wingers is because they all, give something to the game. And what you'll notice is that when Roberts starts, and Vicente will come on later. When Vicente starts, Roberts will come on later. And that's a way of squad rotation that means you shouldn't have to change the team too much, but you do, because we've had an awful lot of injuries as well. They are saying he can't play in this league. It's too tough for him. I think Vicente will be great when he just gets used to it. He's quite a robust player, and he is. He's an out-and-out winger. I just think he needs. I think the Spanish lads probably need to just pick get their fitness levels up a little bit, get used to playing more games, and they'll be fine. Stuart Blaney saying, you in Spain, you must know how he plays. Yeah, he's a wide right. I don't understand what you're saying. You don't have to be in Spain to know how Vicente plays. Look at him, you just YouTube it. You'll get loads and loads of videos of Vicente. You think I go and watch Spanish teams play every week? I don't. Like Prisca does silly things. He's a young lad. I don't know what you mean he does silly things. He made an absolutely great goal for Ducks against Norwich in his first game. He mixes it up. He's strong for a young kid. I think he needs playing, to be honest. And you know he does need playing, but you know when you're in like the pointed end of the season, it gets a little bit hairy, doesn't it? And you can't play everyone like we said before. With he's not like your usual big centre forward, Priska. He's got control. He's got pace. Um, he's strong for a young kid. I mean, if you look at him, he looks about bloody 10. You know, he does. He looks really, really young. But I think he's going to be good, Priska. Lee saying we don't want players like that. Good on paper, can't do it on the pitch. Well, you never know what a player's like until you get him on the pitch. You know, I mean, I don't know. Listen, two things here, right? I don't buy the players. I don't pick the team. I'm just giving you my opinion. And when you're asking me stuff, I'm being honest about it. Will saying with 50% of the team now homegrown players, will they look to blood more new talent or move someone and reinforce with more championship hardened players? The thing for me at the end of this season is we need to decide who's going and who's staying. I think we've got too many players at the moment. Um, there's too much, there's sort of too many choices in a way. So I think it would be good for us to decide who we're going to play, you know, who we want and who we don't want, and then see if we have the option to move them on or if anyone comes in or wants them, you know, and then keep the ones we have and then probably add a little bit to that. Just it needs properly looking at in the close season. Lee said it from the start of the season. If I can see it, how come Blues can't create? Well, it's just what you see, Lee, is your opinion. You know, just like everyone else does. And you know, if your opinion was more important than you know, or you know, you can't judge it. You know, it's just an opinion. None of us are managers, so all of us just have an opinion. We see what we see, we think what we think, and that's it. You know, and if you know, if everyone feels strongly or really strongly about it, you're coming to the wrong person with it's me. You need to like be writing to the club or something. The thing is, I'm spot on. Well, again, that's your opinion, mate. You know, everyone's got their own opinion, and everyone thinks they're right because it's your opinion. Of course, it is. Doesn't mean you're right, of course, but it means that you have an opinion and you've got every right to have it. So I'm looking forward, and Lee saying as it's showing on the pitch. Well, we're just discussing the Derby game, which has been fucking done to death. But yet, like I said, I don't think we did well against Derby because we played the wrong system. That's my opinion, just my opinion. So you know, with these games coming up now. Obviously 6 points would be lovely, wouldn't they, over Easter? But I'm scared to be thinking about that sort of thing now because I've said it before and it's like, Jesus. Billy saying, for me, players of the season were Stansfield and Clara. Will they stay for the... Well, of course, I mean, Stansfield, so listen, for anyone to get Stansfield off Blues, it's going to cost him an awful lot of money because he's on a 5-year contract, or 6. That's going to be almost impossible. Clara, it won't be the end of the world if Clara went. I mean, you know, he's a good captain in my opinion. He's a strong centre half, but he is a typical championship centre half. So for me, he's good for the championship. But you know, I wouldn't be scared if someone come and like offered stupid money for Clara. Then of course, you know, definitely. Lee saying the players I said that were not going to be any good aren't, saying it about the whole season, not just Derby. Well, the way to look at it, Lee, is this, right? I think we're 9th or something. So there's 14 teams that have had a worse season than us so far. So we're above average, aren't we? You know, we got promoted last season, so we're above average in the league above. So that's got to be quite good, hasn't it? It's the way to look at it, you know. I mean, you want to cry about stuff, then have a look at, be a Sheffield Wednesday fan, be an Albion fan, be a Blackburn fan. These teams are teams who are in the shit. Leicester City. I mean, Jesus, we're not going down. We're going to have our best season for 14 seasons, and I know that's probably an indication of how poor we've been in the past. But like I said, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because the other thing that happens then is, like, the clubs see the kind of response that they get for what they do. And honestly, we are acting like a lot of entitled supporters when we have no reason to be entitled. With Blues fans, if you're a Blues fan, you know what it's about. I don't understand it. I will say, now, would you address our away form for next year? Well, just it's a hard thing to say. I mean, um, addressing away form, if it was like an easy fix, then it would have been done. I just think we have to get the get the back four sorted. Make sure that we are a little bit probably more defensive away from home, because it's that whole thing. If you don't concede a goal, you can't lose. But um, I mean, Billy's saying, like, someone like a Kyogo who can score, but the thing is, Billy, you can't score. That's the whole point with Kyogo. If Kyogo could score and he'd been scoring, he wouldn't have not been playing, would he? That's the point. I mean, look how many great chances he's had, and he just hasn't done it. I don't know, like, if you want to keep seeing a player play and not score, or have really good chances and not score, then fine. I just don't get it. Um, Stuart's saying, I think, Steve, we are a team in progress. We don't have that drive to be in the Premiership. We got to earn it. I remember Robbie Fowler interview after Cardiff. He went, wow, and that's what we need to get back. Um, After Cardiff, do you mean when we got promoted? Um, well, obviously we need to show more than we've shown this season. Of course we do. We're not a million miles away. If you look at the results and say, like, probably 3, 4, 5 could have gone differently, then you're in the top 6, aren't you? And when you're in the top 6, you've got a chance. Next season, it's the top 8 as well, so it is different as well. But, we haven't, we're not going to be in the playoffs. That's the result of this season. It's not we're going to be relegated. It's not, it's we're not going to be in the playoffs. That's what this season's about. And we're not going to be in the Premier League next season. That's it. That's the result of it. Lee saying, never know till the new season and summer coming up, and fingers crossed we can get some decent players. Yeah, I agree with you, Lee, and I think we have to step back and just have a little look, and think, well, let's just see what happens. At the end of the day, and I said it a little bit earlier, we've got some really, really astute owners, and a League Cup, Stuart. Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, we didn't go up that season though, did we? So we were very, very unlucky. Um, we, I think we, like I said, the people that make the decisions about who manages a team, and who runs things at St Andrews, is Tom Healy and Tom Wagner, and so those two people, and Knighthead, and also don't forget they'll have pressure from investors. So investors have bought into a 5-year plan for Blues, so they will be looking at getting some return on investment in 5 years, and that's pretty much how United are going to be looking at it, because remember, they're a hedge fund. They're not here on the long term. So there's a lot of balance and counterbalance. And when you look at it, like I said earlier, do you want to throw the baby away with the bathwater? We've come this far. We've had 2 seasons under Chris Davis, and we've had an absolutely brilliant season, and we've had our best season for 14 years. You know, so are we going to say that that's not successful? And if we are, then fair enough, you know. And I'm sure that the club is making that decision as we speak, or they've already made it, or they know what they're going to do. I don't know. Um, I'm not sure that pressure from fans, you know, really pushes these people into decision making. I think support for the club helps us an awful lot in terms of our uh, the way we come across to the club, you know, to the owners, and the owners have put an awful lot of faith in themselves, haven't they? You know, they're the ones that make the appointments. They're the ones that plan the way forward. You know, the club made an absolutely nightmare appointment when they appointed Gary Cook. You know, and that went absolutely. It was awful, wasn't it? And off the back of Gary Cook, really, we got relegated in United's first season, and I think United are going to be really, really careful about not making that mistake again. They got rid of of John Eustace. I'm not saying John Eustace would have been a good long-term manager for us because, in my opinion, John, you know, he's a bit of a Gary Rowett. John, I mean, he does probably play a bit more attractive football, but he's not a manager that I would like, you know, want long-term at Blues. But he didn't deserve to be treated the way he was. It was very, very bad. And what happened for the rest of that season then was a reflection of what we'd done. And of course, Gary Cook was got the bullet, and we moved on from there. But I don't think the club are going to be looking to rush into decisions again. It backfired on them last time. Lee's saying you have to spend money to make money. Get some top players, in my view, get us out of this league. It's a championship, it can be done. Prem, different story. Yeah, but like I said, Lee, you got to be able to spend the money, you know. You can't just, in football anymore, you can't just spend whatever money you want. You can't do it. You're not allowed to do it. So that's what you know, you have your hands tied by that as well. So we've seen it. You know, we've seen it in the Premier League, haven't we? With your Man Cities and Chelsea's, and you know, Man United did it some years ago. Man City have got away with murder, and Chelsea have. But of course, Leicester haven't, have they? You know, Leicester paid the price now because of what they did. You know, you can't just spend. It has to be astute spending. It has to be good money management. It has to be long contracts, and also amortisation, so you can spread the cost out over a certain amount of time. And it's like, you know, every person you get rid of, you have to pay the contract up. So someone was saying earlier, you know, let Kyo go. Well, okay, you can go, but you've got to pay his contract up if you get rid of him. It's the same with Chris Davies. It's the same with Craig Gardner. It's the same with anyone else that works for the club. If they've got a contract, you've got to pay it up if you want to get rid of them, you know. So there's that thing. There's that side of things to look at as well. Um, I mean, I feel like I've been on a bit of a defensive today, and I mean, you know, don't. I think people sort of think that I don't have an opinion. You know, my opinion isn't necessarily that. You know, I think Chris Davies has been a raving success this season. I think Chris has been learning, and I think he's made some mistakes along the way, and he's going to make some more probably. But he's a clever lad. You know, he's got a great coaching background, and I like the way he plays football. But that's what I like. I don't like, you know, like long ball game and stuff. I just think I just don't like it. That's me. Um, so I feel like I've been a bit on the defensive today, but I don't mind answering people's questions, and I'll always be honest and give you my honest opinion about it. And I know we have awful lot of people that support Chris, and a lot of people that you know, or not as many, but a few people that want him to go. And but remember, when you're having a go at people that work for the club, you're having a go at the club as well. And don't forget, you know, that Knighthead have put an awful lot of money into us, and they'll be more aware than anyone about the position that we're in. And I'm pretty sure if they think it's not going to go well for them, they're going to change things, you know. Definitely they will. Within reason, don't forget John Terry went Villa back in day. No one thought he would ever if we don't try to get them sort of players in. Well, thing is as well, like you'd never know what sort of players we have tried to get in because those ones often don't surface. But yeah, I take the point. Uh, yeah, agreed, Lee. Well, listen, we got the hour up, so it's been nice talking. And Friday, I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do a review. I'm not sure. Um, Tomorrow, I've got a really busy day myself tomorrow. If I can do it, I will. No, it's Wednesday. I will be doing a review, a preview tomorrow of Friday's game. So if you want to come on and have a chat with me tomorrow about what you think your team selection might be, let's just try and get it back, get our heads back together and have a go and see what we're going to do for the rest of the season. Thanks so much for coming and talking to me and being sensible and putting your points over. Lee, thank you for you've had a lot to say today and thanks for that. Everyone else as well that's commented and come on, thank you. I hope, I don't know, we do this to enjoy it, not, no other reason. Angus is saying, cheers Steve, keep right on Angus. Lee, always a pleasure chatting with you Steve, but banter. Yeah, I know that mate. Listen, I've been around for a long time. I've been a Blues fan for a long time. I know what it's like. I do. I can take shit. It don't bother me. People can give me shit all day long. It's water off a duck's back. But if you want to ask me a question, I'll always be honest about it. Always. I don't hide behind anything, and I don't. I don't. If I think things have gone wrong at Blues, and if I think we're in a position where we needed probably to change a manager, then that's something I would say. I don't hide behind anything, but it doesn't mean that I'm right. It's just my opinion. So anyway, thank you so much for coming on, Lee. Cheers, mate. And guys, listen, keep right on. I haven't got my short sleeves. I don't know why I got this on actually. It's probably warm in it, but you know what? The houses are cold here. So it is a little bit chilly inside. If you want to get warm, just go outside for a bit. But thank you for tuning in and another chit chat with me. We've done like 60 odd comments, which is pretty good for one where we haven't played for a while. England play tonight, so let's see what happens. R.I.P. Paul. Everyone, if you can, get down and give him your your support on Friday. Good luck to the Blues and to the Blues ladies who play this weekend as well. So, listen, we're Blues. That's all I'm going to say. Johnny Cole, nice listening to the banter while preparing my sourdough loaf for the oven. Sourdough loaf? That sounds a bit American, Johnny. It really does. I don't know why he's sourdough. I don't know. I should know that, shouldn't I? Really. I mean, I'm right off bread at the moment. I'm trying to drop a little bit of body fat, so I've had a big play with my diet, and I've changed it quite a bit, and it's working well. So I'm staying focused on that. But sourdough, I'm sure I've had it at some point. I don't know, but you have to let us know, mate. Drop me a note and tell me what it is. But anyway, thank you everyone, and have a fabulous Tuesday. It's Tuesday, and I'll speak to you tomorrow if you want to come on. Come and say hello to me. Up the Blues.